Welcome to another episode where we spill the tea on all things flea. From wild vendor stories to incredible finds, we're bringing you the voices, treasures, and secrets of the flea market world. So grab a seat and let's dive in. This is you, me, and the flea. Hey Flea fam, welcome back to another episode of You, Me, and the Flea. Happy Thursday. Today I'm back, just me, myself, and I. So you're getting me back to back quite a bit, and I hope you're liking it because I'm actually loving our one-on-one conversations lately. And that's just because we've got some good people coming up. But anyway, it's just me today. So how's it going? What's up? Hopefully you are having an amazing week and your summer is off to a great start. But today I wanted to chat about something that's been a little bit more heartfelt, if you will, or that's been on my mind for a little bit. But wanted to kind of talk about what I have learned from vendors. And I know that like week after week, I am hitting you with shopping trends or, we're meeting, people and talking, yeah, pretty much about like shopping and things I'm finding. But there's obviously way more to what I do and what I learn other than how much limes are for the week. And so wanted to dedicate this episode actually to the vendors themselves. So this one's for y'all, my friends out there. And hopefully some of this hopefully none of this is like new to you because I have touched on these, throughout this podcast, but here are my thoughts on what I have learned from vendors. Some key points. So, here we go. Number 1. The hustle is real. And I think we've like mentioned it, a couple times, but there's something to be said about folks who consistently show up for themselves every weekend. Think about that, like every single weekend. So like, you or I might have some sort of engagement that, if I can't make it to the flea market for the week, for the day, for example, I won't go or I'll go for a few hours. Like these vendors truly show up every single weekend, whether they have a graduation party, a wedding, a family member in town, like things that, we wouldn't miss. And the like 99% of them won't miss because of those reasons. So, right. So like, let's say, your family's in town for a wedding, like they're going to show up to their wedding when they're done working. And, not everyone these days is willing to do that. I think like back old school mentality, right? So like when my dad used to work, my dad owned a restaurant, right? And so there were a lot of things he missed. Whether it was related to, me and my sisters and like what we were doing, like what our extracurricular was, but just in general, like so many like family get-togethers, he would have to come after, if at all, if he was like even up for it after working an entire day. Because he had to be at his restaurant, right? There were so many Sundays, like my dad never went to church. We never took a family vacation all together. So I don't know. My heart goes out to folks who dedicate themselves like that. And for some, they only sell on the weekends, and so they have no choice but to be there. Um, and my hat and heart goes out to you because I don't think they make them like that anymore. Secondly, like with that tone, it's not even that you're showing up on the weekend for yourself or for your family, but you're showing up there early. If you are a vendor, you know that, at Swap, in order to get a space, maybe you don't know, but in order to get a good space, you have to show up around 6 a.m. or sooner. Some of them come the night before and set up. And so obviously we have like reserved spaces and unreserved spaces, and we'll get to that at, another point in time. But for the most part, like these folks are coming in, let's say 6 a.m. because we open at 7. So you're coming in. Some of these booths are insanely beautiful and like extravagant and have, you know, all the bells and whistles to them. And they're setting that up week after week outside, right? Like it's not just something snap your fingers and is set up for you. Like it takes a lot of like labor intensive work to put all of those things together. And a lot of them are by them. Some of them might have, a brother or somebody helping them, but again, for the most part, some of these people are by themselves. And then throw the people that are doing it every, Ashlyn, for example, every Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturday and Sunday. It's wild. I don't even know. There's some, and everyone always like jokes with me, like, you would never be able to do it. If I had to and that was my job, I absolutely would. But they're also right where it's like, how can you not be tempted, to hang out with friends or family or go out to dinner and then knowing that you have to be up at, 5 a.m. to set up shop. So, yeah, I, at this point in my life, could never do that. And so, my heart goes there. And then let's talk about like the long hours, right? So, our market is open 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., which might not seem like a long day, but, well, first of all, that's more than 8 hours. But then, I like some of them don't take breaks. Some of them have to stay at their booths the entire day if they're able to like, have a neighbor watch it for them. Or again, if you have an employee, then that might be a different story. You're able to like swap out. But some of them are so busy sometimes that they can't even step away to use the bathroom, let alone eat or have water or anything like that. Now let's add some elements into play. So now it's hot and this weekend is going to be 90 degrees in Chicago. So now we're at 90 degrees. You're under a tent, which I'm sure is helping you from direct sunlight, but it's not helping you from not sweating. So you have that. And like you set it up, you teared it down, like you've been up since 5 a.m. It's just crazy. And I don't know how it can be done. Like it's not like, when you're working at like a Target and you get, a few 10-minute breaks, maybe one or two, or even if you don't take all of your breaks, but you're able to take your lunch. Like let's let's eliminate all of that. You're not able to do any of that. You might be able to step away like for 10 minutes. And sometimes like from where their booths are, by the time they get to a bit, like it's just crazy. Um, so the long hours are wild. And then you're not even done like at 4 o'clock. Like you have to tear everything down. So all of the tables and tents that you set up, all of your items that you put on a table, like you now have to like repack that up and put it away and organize it for your next market day. Like that, it's not a 5-10 minute task. I mean, unless you have something like super extravagant and foldable, which some folks do, but not all. Um, and in which case, you do need a little bit of time to tear down. So, yeah, yikes. The days are long and hopefully worth it though, which we'll hit on. But yeah, and then we mentioned, Matt and I a few weeks back talked about, weather at the flea market and how that impacts business big time for people. Um, and that's also not a joke. You know what I mean? Like for somebody like me, right, where if I don't want to do something in the heat, I kind of don't have to, right? Like I can stay home and sit in the air conditioning if I really wanted to. Cancel on plans or, you know, if I had to do landscaping, let's say, and it's like, oh, it's too hot, like you really could like pass on something. When this is your job and your livelihood, I mean, how many passes can you possibly take if it's like 90 degrees every single weekend? Like, you really can't. And also, I mean, let's not forget like our folks that live in other climates. So we have a flea market in Florida. Central Florida is not even just hot, it's like scorching hot and humid from, my gosh, for them it's like May to October. And then they have hurricane season. So it's like they're dealing with elements that are no joke. Like, and they're consistently showing up for visitors and customers and making livings, off of this and putting themselves out there. There is one lady that, I mean, she's got like an umbrella hat. I mean, she is ready to go for whatever element is going to be thrown at her for the day because there's no chance that she's going to pack up and not sell. And that speaks so loudly, especially to me. Like, again, wow, like, I'm so inspired by it. I really am. I just think that it takes a very strong individual to do that. So that's the hustle. And then of course, just anything that comes with resilience and just being able to like bounce back from that. Okay, let's go back to weather even for an example. There's been days where it's like windy and crazy or like super cold in the morning, then it gets super hot and then it starts raining and it's like three elements in a day. What? Oh my gosh. And if you've had no sleep and you've like showed up at 5, like think about that. That is wild. I digress. But anyways, I really do think that consistency is key. And I think that that's also kind of what they know too, right? So it's like, as we all know, if you do something over and over again, whether it's, I mean, whatever you do, healthy eating or any, like, you have to set yourself up and keep doing it and sticking to it in order to get the results you want. And likewise with a business like this, like you have to show up for your business. If you're not going to open, who is? Um, so, there, like, for example, on days where there's really bad elements and maybe not everyone shows up, the vendors that do usually make the most money because, the folks that do come to shop or don't mind the elements and don't mind getting wet and shopping in the rain, I mean, you're gonna buy from the people that are there. And so, if you're the type of person that's like, it's kind of drizzling, I'm not going today, and then it clears up, I mean, your friend in the other row has capitalized on all of that. So I love that. Showing up no matter what. I love it so much. Okay, another thing I've learned is vendors are entrepreneurs. Um, and you might say like, duh, Christina. Obviously, vendors are entrepreneurs, like they're running their own business. But I will say, like for me, when I first started here, I I don't think I thought that. I just thought that they were like, just people setting up, booths or I maybe assumed that I just didn't think that, right? Like I thought these people were just throwing a tent up and throwing some stuff out there and whatever people were buying. But that's just obviously ridiculous and not the case. And shame on me for thinking that. But, people have created their own brands and work really hard at those brands. And I'm talking homemade jewelry. I'm talking clothing. I'm talking, all those people that we've talked about over the years that, make candles, that sell essential oils, that are doing the hunting for you so that, your job is easier in terms of shopping. The more curated booths, things like the sports memorabilia and things like that. Like that's actual people putting in effort to find these products to then resell, or somebody that is genuinely interested in all of that stuff. And I think that's so cool. That's, part of your business and your business model. And that's an entrepreneur. Um, so hats off there. I think like also how they evolve over time, right? So like, the people that have like brick and mortars and then are like, you know what, we're going to set up at the flea too. And so they come in to the flea market just looking at it as like an extra few bucks, but then really are successful at the 2 days at the flea market. And some of them have closed their businesses and are just working at the flea market. So amazing. There's so many different business models that I've seen. And I think that all of that in and of itself has been the lesson of what I mean by they're entrepreneurs, right? I mean, even the folks that are selling like their leftover scraps they own construction companies and then, cabinets that they've removed, they're now selling at the flea market. Like someone's trash is another person's treasure. And really, they saw that as an opportunity. And so as a business owner, wow, like things I would never have thought of. And over the years, there's been crazy examples like that. And they continue to evolve like that. So love it. I'm here for all the business and all the business ideas. Please give them to me. Because I know I always want to evolve as well. And that goes for even their marketing. Oh my gosh. Like I am just so impressed. Like, for example, seeing like younger entrepreneurs doing like live streaming at the markets and selling their products or doing day in the lives on TikTok and stuff like that of setting up their booths and selling at their booths and taking a lunch break at the flea market or whatever that looks like. I just think it is so cool and has really evolved from even when I started doing marketing here, from posting just a photo to now we're really into, more live videos and way more content ideas. And that's because of some of these business minds that I'm able to absorb from that I see. So super inspiring there too. Okay, another one is the power of personality. Okay, if you know, whether you are a customer, an employee here, another vendor, the personalities that you will meet, that you will see at a flea market are unlike any other, dare I say. Um, my coworkers and I talk and laugh all the time about how this would be like the flea market industry in a whole would make for such good TV. Like we would be the best thing on reality TV if some of these vendors were followed around for just a day, let alone a season. But it's true. Like there are, gosh, there are so many in my head right now that I could like rattle off, but it is just so cool to see. And I'm talking about people that are super outgoing. I'm talking about people that are collectors that have a story to tell with every single thing that they've collected that's on their table. I mean, and you will get that. There is literally somebody that I can think of off the top of my head where, no joke, every little thing that I was picking up, it was a whole story to go along with it. Like, I found that from, I don't know, New York and blah, blah, blah. And that was from, some mansion, blah, blah. I mean, amazing, amazing. And I'm here for it. Like, I let, I will always hear you out if you have a story like that. Our flea market in Florida is really fun because there are people from all over that travel. They're like snowbirds. Some of them, a lot of folks from the East Coast will come down to Florida during the winter months and sell. And that's really cool because obviously, here at our Chicagoland markets, I mean, we'll get folks from like Indiana or Wisconsin or Michigan, but hearing people from like Boston or New York or the Carolinas, right? And Georgia, Atlanta, all that stuff, and they're coming to sell at our Florida market is so cool, right? That is just a whole other group of folks that I've never been. I don't know what their mentality, what they're thinking like while they're selling. And same thing, such great stories about how they started selling jewelry, where they find their jewelry, And then same thing here. Like I can't overlook the personalities here in Chicago because those are amazing too. Like we have such a unique melting pot from European sellers to Arabic sellers to every single Hispanic, Latino community you can think of, the Black community. Um, and again, like when they're selling products that are from Jamaica, how cool, right? Soaps that are from South America. What? Like we get to see that stuff. That is so cool. And then to witness folks that are just so passionate about it. Like how can you not sit there and listen to it? I'm definitely a victim of that. But I love it so much. And I think that, you know, that speaks volume to the seller, to the experience of buying, right? When you're able to like go to a table and like actually engage with someone, it just makes you feel better. Me as a consumer, just wanting to buy from you because I'm trusting you. I know that your items are like curated and there were thought that went into thought there was a thought that went into it, even if it was you bought a storage unit, you know. Hearing that like you fought really hard to get this particular storage unit, whatever the story is, like it just makes it more meaningful, even if it is a small object that I'm buying for you from for $5. Um, you know, or same thing when someone's selling like old Christmas decor of theirs, right? Like I had bought some like gift boxes from someone and yeah, my wife's getting rid of these. We used to have them under our Christmas, like just such cool store. I don't know. It just makes me feel so cool to engage with someone about an item. I love it. And then also too, like with that being said, with these vendors being so consistent and you know, it's not like Walmart where every time I go to Walmart, there's probably a new employee or an employee I don't recognize unless you went to Walmart at the same time every single day. Maybe that's a little different, but for the most part, I can tell you that no matter where I'm going, I'm not going to know anyone and they're not going to know me. Um, and when you shop at the flea, seeing the customers and the vendors knowing each other, recognizing each other, you know, the regulars and seeing that community is so cool as well. Hey Mike, hey Chuck, like hey, well, hey Christina, they say it to me too now, but it's super cool and it makes you feel like you're part of a family and again just makes it feel even more enticing to buy something from someone that you know and you care about and you trust, right? So if they have new items, I'm gonna trust you that, you know, that the product is good, especially if it's something used too, right? There are so many vendors that, you know, will sell like let's say used lawnmowers and it's like they're not you're able to test them, right? But you're not like cutting grass right there on the spot. So you have to really like be able to trust this person that is selling lawnmowers that their lawnmowers and their blowers in the winter are good products, right? And I love that, especially with their quirky personalities. And I mean this in like the nicest way possible too, by the way. Like I'm not like knocking anyone. I think it's so great. The louder you are, I love it too. My gosh, give it to me. And even the quiet ones. The quiet ones, oh, so good. The service providers that are just so smart and so great at their craft, also great personalities. Like, talk about, you know, a huge leap of faith when you have so many service providers like in an area. Why would you go to an optometrist at a flea market? Right? Like, have you like, I don't know, but you see this person and they're in your face and they're right next to your favorite candle store, candle booth at the flea market. You can't help but like talk to that person too. It's just, it's an amazing thing to experience, truly. And I think at the end of the day, like people like buying from people. Um, I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna lie, like I shop online all the time, but there really is something to say about supporting a business, and that could be your friend's business, or everyone at the flea market. It just feels better. The kindness, I love the kindness, the camaraderie. We've mentioned so many times too, like how vendors at the end of the day, like they might bicker with each other, but 99% of the time they have each other's backs and crazy. The the ride or die mentality of like being buddies with each other. Ugh. You do not want to mess with them when they're when they are a unit, they're moving as a unit, and it's so, so cool. And yeah, I just love it. The authenticity, the connection, super good. One thing I've learned, and especially like taking that into my personal life, right? Um, since it's a lesson since it's a lesson I've learned. It's just so powerful. It's networking. It's a skill that you can't really teach anymore. And so being able to like witness it and see these examples like have really opened me up a little bit more too. And I've always been an outgoing person, so it's never like it's been an issue for me. But I think like in this world today, there's always coming from me being an outgoing person. I don't love talking to everybody anymore. You never know what you're gonna get. Like it could be a gamble. Somebody could be having an off day and then they put you in a bad mood or whatever the situation is. But seeing these vendors and like taking a gamble and just being themselves and being authentic to who they are translates into their brand and then just shows that like, okay, like you're not gonna be liked by everyone, but you have to put yourself out there if you want to be successful. And so that's a skill that I've definitely strengthened, I think, since I've been here over the years. So thank you for that one. Everyone's like, your bold personality, we're done here. Like, are you done yet? Okay. Another one is cultural and generational wisdom. And I'm just thinking about, again, the different backgrounds, all of them sharing stories, as I've said, the different languages, the food, the music. Oh my gosh. Like, listening to their music, because they're playing them at their booths. It just, I don't know. It just puts again this feeling of like, wow, these are people and these are different people than me. And you can't help but like want more and want to learn what they're listening to. So many times I'm like, what is the song saying? Like, I don't know, because I'll just love the beat of it, right? And so I learned that way, definitely. And then to just, I mean, over the years, products that they've sold, um, incense or whatever it is, because I will ask at a booth if I don't know what something is, and especially if it's from like a different country, um, I'm very intrigued when they're selling like teas or um packaged snacks that I've never seen. Oh my gosh, the Mexican candy. Like, what is that? I've never seen something like that. Everyone's buying it from you. Fill me in. So I do learn a lot culturally. And it is inspiring, especially when, again, in a weird place in the world, right, where sometimes we have to like conceal where we're from or who we are. Not at the flea. You can very proudly but respectfully, right? Proudly but respectfully showcase who you are and where you're from. And 9 times out of 10, people will tell you it, right? Like right off the jump. They'll say, I'm Arabic. And then, oh, makes sense, and then you learn more about them. Um, let's see. I think also with that one too, like when I mentioned like generational wisdom, there's no doubt about it. A lot of the folks there are an older demographic. I mean, we're seeing a lot of younger folks taking over lately, but from the older folks, I love learning from them, from what it was like selling in the 90s versus today, or what they used to do and now they're selling in they're retired and they're selling for fun. Just hearing all of that is amazing. And then how business has evolved, how their business has evolved, how they're staying relevant, like, the tips and tricks that they have to share. Like all of that is such amazing wisdom. And sometimes you can't really learn that from a textbook, right? Like I can't tell you like the amount of aha moments I've had as they've been talking, or things that I feel like I take for granted sometimes when you're talking to them. Um, and it just feels good to learn. I know, like, I no longer have grandparents, and it just feels like this community of like, these are all my grandparents, and you want to look out for them too. You genuinely, I know I genuinely care about them and their well-beings. But yeah, I mean, there's always something to learn. So I love that with the generational wisdom. All right. What do we think? Did I hit them? So my four takeaways, as I mentioned, were that vendors are entrepreneurs, the hustle mentality, the power of personality, and the cultural and generational wisdom. I don't know, y'all. I feel like these vendor lessons like have really shaped like how I work and how I want to market the market. Because I am super inspired by all of it. And it's evolved kind of the way I think and I interact. I think I mentioned that as I've been talking about it, but in general, it's just like strengthened me as a person. And I know my colleagues too. We're always talking about how we learn from them the most. And they're the people that, are we might have ideas here, from an office perspective, but they're the ones that are actually testing those and seeing if they work or not. And so it's super important to learn from that. Um, and I think again, like the biggest part of this is the hustle. And these are people at the end of the day. I respect that so much. So yeah, over the years, there's been a lot of life lessons. And as much as I feel like getting on here every week and discussing it, like I just kind of wanted to gather my thoughts on how I feel about the vendors in general and the things that I've learned. And as I might do another episode, like a part two of this, like down the road when I learn more. But for now, these are my biggest takeaways. And I will always, 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 always stop and hear you out. So if you are a vendor listening to this, like, I'll listen, I got you. But anyways, shout out to all the vendors. I see you. I feel you. I appreciate you. I respect you. And I'm pretty sure everyone here at the Swap team does too. And I'll even take it as a level further as somebody who sits on a national flea market board. I know everyone across the nation like feels the same way. These aren't like I I know that like my friends in Denver, right, and my friends in Louisiana, like everyone feels so passionate about the people that strap up their boots every weekend and do this for us. And obviously the concept when it started decades ago, they saw it too. And we love it. And as I mentioned, we appreciate it. So hats off to the vendors. This is dedicated to you. And yeah, what do we think? I'm very curious, honestly, if consumers feel the same way. So if you've ever visited one of the flea markets, like the things that I've rattled off, like, can you see this stuff? Like, do you feel it when you're like shopping? We always say that there's definitely an experience to be had every single time you're at the flea market. So very curious too if you get that too, right? Like if you go home after having a conversation with a coin collector, like are you like, wow, that was like a very savvy business person or just really cool to connect with someone's quirky personality, right? Like obviously that has to like stick with you. Um so yeah, I know when I roam the aisles, that's how I feel. So, let me know in the description below if you feel that. And maybe shout out some of your vendors that you love in the comments below or message me or whatever. But that is all the time I have for today. Again, shout out to the vendors. Thank you so much for all that you do for us week after week. And I hope to continue to learn to grow from you. So as always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share all the things, and check out the vlog, check out the market. Most importantly, support these people that I've just talked about. Markets, as always, are open during the week. So Ashland Tuesday and Thursday, Wednesday at Alsip, Friday at Melrose Park. Those are outside only days. And then every weekend, all locations, Saturday and Sunday, inside and outside, don't forget, no matter what the weather. And I'll catch you here next week.